I've had the. You know how I mean it.
I got a dude named John in my class.
No.
Oh, I have.
Sit some wild.
Yeah.
Like 2 minutes though.
And now we'll give you.
No, that's what I thought then.
Certain
Okay, this is what I heard.
Okay, right, so there's.
I got a very strong too.
Well, so when we were in, I'll start
You get just had a bunch of applications and the other.
Yeah.
The same applications on your team.
well, I applied it.
You already have a company.
Yeah, a lot of,
Well, then you-
I don't have my degree in
Those
finance,
topics,
I have
you
like,
have to
you have to
Yeah.
So many of us bring
Most of
something
them.
to
Sunday at 5?
that makes sense. So it's each team is
Anyway,
10.
I
Oh,
applied
I
to this
was the
thing.
first one.
But that's
your.
usually
wanted
for
that.
them.
As opposed
So,
to
when
They are here.
Tuesday,
See,
Wednesday,
You
or
get you get your.
I've always been the last,
You get-
like,
you
minute.
get free time.
I've been assigned that.
All applications come.
So this time, I'm Friday.
They tell you how much to work and
Hey.
different departments. See if you should actually got it. So
4 days
next,
until
like,
you
the next summer,
until charge.
like, you go there and
Sunday afternoon, easy solid there.
So I applied for this.
Right after lunch. Before she gets hungry.
To do the tutoring thing. And then
So,
possibly.
if you're going to just give you the invitation,
I've
I've been told that.
My meeting is on Valentine's Day.
On the but if you were talking about the yeah. Alright, so I said you have that in the back.
And it's.
Because I mean, someone always says what's gonna happen at that new break.
So, I was thinking I could do an internship with them, right? And then
Legal.
what they would be doing is.
Strict texture.
Whenever I take the board. So then I could do this 3 semesters. So you could get in
It's alright. Like, I think it's what they do IRB, or people do IRB.
Mine is just the original is.
What is that?
I follow
I'm
that.
either gonna go.
Monastery, was that?
It was me at
Here's
our
HSC.
dinner with the guest speaker.
Subjects.
He was all that. He was excited.
Like,
He's like, if you wait till the fall, I will be back.
What about other ones that will about county?
Yeah.
You give me plenty of time to.
Yeah, they were talking about the county somewhere.
Yeah.
Even though a lot more
paperwork now.
I
It
would
takes
like,
like the PWC, but like you have someone in the
He said he'd show up for
yeah,
meetings
as long
too.
as we get all of it done.
I'm so excited.
We kind of need more than just.
Just
the name.
He's a big man.
Oh, him and I were speaking. He's like, so what do you think you're gonna do? And he's like, you could
Why are you?
once a month. Like, look at the case.
I assume you did. I copied your email. What have I been doing for? I copied your email. I copied
You
you.
would like have like
It's fine.
like
It's fine. It's fine. You can sit and watch me as I explain to everybody why this is sinking. Alright, good.
Alright, pages.
Alright, good evening, everyone. We're call meeting order. Thank you for being here after spring break. That's. I read it. I believe you already had the agenda from our last meeting. And so I'm just asking for a quick motion to approve last week's agenda.
Motion to approve
Minutes. Okay, all in
Do we
favor?
have enough people to?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Who we have? Sorry.
No.
Yes. Huh?
We're
too shy. Okay.
Forum, so we can conduct no official business.
Well, so I'm gonna reverse, go back a step then, on a motion to suspend formal rules, that way we can conduct the business today. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Fortunately, I used that 2 meetings in a row. That being said, we've had pretty good attendance all year, so let's hope that this is just because days after spring break.
Well, there's a lot of people sick too.
Yeah.
More weather.
Yeah.
So now reinstate, I'll just motion to approve last meeting's minutes. Take a second.
Second.
All in favor? Awesome. And now I'm gonna open it up. I'm gonna take new business since we only have one item and bump it back into line item 3 and give the floor to Mr. Brett.
Oh, thank you. I will be brief. My name is Bryson Marion. I work for the Illinois Education Association. Illinois Education Association is the parent union for GAU, Graduation United, which I'm guessing John is mentioning to you a couple times. We have a campaign going to encourage administration to freeze fees so they stop you going up. There is no budget. We are unlikely to get raises. No union has gotten a raise so far. What we're trying to do is get the administration to freeze fees so at least your salaries don't go down. That's it. That's the basics. We think we're pretty close. We've been negotiating with them for quite a while, and the last two at the table thought we were pretty close. So we have these postcards. We're going to hand out these, take some of them. All you have to do is sign it. You put a message in, you sign it, put your apartment on it, and you just dump it in campus mail. It goes right to the president of the university. You're ready, done. I'd like you to take these, handle, take them back to your friend, anybody you know, any grad, this will be grads, and ask them to send them out too. If we get enough of these postcards, we think we have a pretty good shot of having your fees not go up possibly in 2020. And so that's what they say. Does everybody know what GAU is? Is that just kind of just made that joke and an assumption? Everybody know what GAU is? Other thing I would tell you is we're going to elect new officers pretty soon. So if you're interested in running, please let us know. But we just grab some. Yeah, what's that? That's it. Unless anybody has any questions for me. Who wants to join information forms? Who wants to run? I can go do the run. But please, the main thing is the postcards. We're trying to get as many of them as we can.
Thanks, Brett. Okay, so we had some of these in our office, but we didn't have the staff for you to take back your constituents and things. So please take generous, read it in the common space. A lot of school members probably not given, won't be very effective. I don't think.
My suspicion is it would affect the law school anyway, because usually what they do is they simply do the same thing for fees for everybody. So we capped it at 5% for GAs. The university never raised it for anybody more than 5%. I would tell you if you're in the law school, sign one, fill it out and send it, because it may very well affect the law school.
Okay. So if it affect law school, I just grab a stack and you can close mailboxes or
So
something.
I do have a question then. So are you saying fees? Are you saying the general fees or traditional fees?
The fees like for like the rec center, sports,
So
technology.
general fees.
Yeah, sure.
So
Not health insurance.
Right.
Any other questions for Mr. Chapman? All right. Thank you, Brett. And obviously, you can stay here how long as you want. So,
Do we have form?
Yeah,
Three.
do we now have a forum?
Yep.
There's only
So you have 3 other people walking after something else.
okay. We have to reflect, we now have quorum, so the first motion is no longer needed.
Do we need to suspend that motion and reinstate?
We need a motion to reinstate
Yeah.
the rules.
The rule,
Yeah.
yeah.
So motion to reinstate Robert Rules of Order.
I'll motion.
All in favor? Sorry. Okay. Goes now to old business. Subcommittee on USG grievances. As much as we were hoping to have this the report today. It's not quite there. Due to the amount of information the committee received just prior to spring break. However, I've been told that we will be there soon, and so we'll look at the next meeting. Next, absence policy resolution. Nothing.
I still have nothing. If you have any comments, concerns, thoughts about any potential or anything that needs to go into a university-wide absence policy, please email them to the GPSC email address. Neither body's representative committee has met jointly to discuss this thing, so I presume this will come up at the next grad council executive, or barring that, at the next grad council general meeting. It just hasn't come up yet, probably because faculty senate is still having conversations about it. But if you have any interest in having an attendance policy that does not simply screw you over, please send an email to the GPSC email address, and I will put it into the large resolution or the report attached to the resolution.
Thank you, John. And I'm gonna now again go into our officer and committee reports and go back.
Welcome to the 30 minutes of John talking. I apologize. I'll try to do this as fast as possible. So, while most of us were on spring break, I unfortunately had to deal with administrators. So I had a meeting with Dean Lee concerning travel funding, because as you may or may not be aware, GPSC is probably the only entity on campus that has available funds in the over $50 to give to students. When speaking with Dean Lee about this, he told me to go ask Provost Ford if she had any money, and to also go ask Vice Chancellor Jim Garvey if he had any money. So I did so. The response from Provost Ford is the following, and I will simply read this. So according to Provost Ford, funds for graduate student support to attend professional meetings from the Provost area are historically delegated for distribution by the academic colleges and their budgets, the academic departments and their budgets, and the graduate school. The majority of the Provost budget is distributed out to those areas. So to be clear, the money goes from the Provost to the deans to the chairs and finally to us. From the graduate school, it comes from the non-declared graduate student applications. So when the pot of money that the graduate school has decreases based on the number of graduate students who apply as non-declared graduate students. The pot of monies that departments use is allocated from the Provost's office. So this is in addition to the fact that some departments use some of their grad application fees for student travel support. Some of them use their overhead or foundation funds. Some colleges have historically put part of their OTS budget for graduate student support. All of this is to say that the historic sources of funding for graduate student travel no longer exist, especially if we look at graduate student application fees. Because of the decline in the number of graduate students applying, departments have less money available, and it becomes a problem.
Yeah, I just have a quick question. Didn't Dean Lee say previously that he had money available for like $50 per student until it ran out, and it looked like it was gonna run out? Didn't he say that last semester?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the issue that we are having now.
Yes. Dean Lee will probably be out of money before the semester concludes, with no possibility of refilling that fund until a whole new batch of applications comes in. People are applying faster than the pot can be refilled.
Okay, so I don't recall ever really the plan being discussed about that. Is there not one at all?
No, there is no plan B. Because that is the only place those monies come from. Dean Lee has been looking into ways to generate additional monies, and it was my position as Vice President of Graduate School Affairs that this was going too slowly, so I decided to ask some questions. And the answers are in this report. So to be fair, Dean Lee has looked into foundation accounts, alumni donations, which he pushed really hard, and collaboration with the Vice Chancellor for research's overhead account, and none of these have panned out at all. So this is a problem. So that being said, given the budget situation and a decade of continual budget cuts, funds for any travel for any primary academic affairs budgets, both state and local, are pretty much gone. So put simply, no one except those departments that have foundation or endowed accounts have any money anywhere for travel. It is all being eaten up by the things that colleges and departments used to rely on state funding for. So as an addendum, this goes for all things, including departmental conferences, journals, and other student initiatives. I wouldn't check this out too, because some of the money that from the OTS budgets, grad student applications, overhead go to fund graduate student journals. Those funds are no longer available, hence requests for us to fund journals. So this is a bigger problem. So to quote Provost Ford, my office has no additional funds to direct to any research or career development travel at this time, consistent with the distribution of funds from the provost area historically. So, to put simply, there is no money anywhere on campus for any travel except here and in those departments with endowments or foundation accounts that are directed for graduate student support. To give a case example, COLA has no money anywhere except in those accounts that are endowed or foundation support. And those have limited budget purposes, so they can't exactly use them for whatever the heck they want. I say this because a number of people came and asked me, where else can we get travel funding for? The answer is nowhere. Let's see, what else do I have? Sweet. Academic prioritization. So, oh God. So 2 weeks ago, I was asked about budget cuts to specific departments within COLA, and instead of asking specifically about COLA, I went and asked about departments across the institution and got a variety of answers. Most of them could be boiled down to, we are working on it, but we have no information to give you. An example of which was Dr. Komaraju's response to the email that I read at last Graduate Council, which was essentially, I don't have to tell you, and I'm not going to tell you. So I reached out to Provost Ford. According to Provost Ford, academic program prioritization as a process is now in the hands of the provost. As such, the provost has indicated that she owns any failure to communicate information about the process to constituency bodies. However, and I quote, I provided an update to the Faculty Senate and Graduate Council last semester, and over the weekend I provided a written update to the Chancellor, the System Vice President, and to the faculty constituency heads. I intend to provide an update in Faculty Senate and Graduate Council at their next meetings. You note she did not include us in this, despite us having representation on the task force that put together the recommendation for prioritization. So in light of this, it is my recommendation that the President request of the Provost a copy of this most recent report such that we can consider it at our next email or at our next meeting. And this should come from the President because I'm fairly certain that Provost Ford is tired of me knocking on her door. However, the Provost reminded me that the goal of the original charge of the Joint Task Force was to develop a process that was, and I quote, consistent with the faculty view of the overall goals and shape of priorities and vision for the academic mission of the university. This charge was given in recognition that at SIUC, the faculty owned the curriculum, not the administration and not the students. So to this end, while the students are identified as stakeholders within the document, as the Provost reminded me, again, another quote, under the operating papers and the history of the institution, it is the faculty that own the curriculum and the right and responsibility, if they choose to exercise it, to shape its form. Basically, while we have a voice in the proceedings as outlined in the Joint Task Force report, we are not necessarily to be solicited for commentary on the process, nor is it the responsibility of the administration involved in prioritization to offer anything more than a symbolic inclusion of the student body in the process. With regards to the process of making budget cuts, which is where this all started, I will simply quote the Provost again at length. In requesting that the faculty create a process, I noted that resource allocation decisions are ongoing and they happen annually by the semester and sometimes weekly. Such decisions would and do continue. They will be informed by the outcome of the JTF recommended procedures at such time as the full analysis recommended can be completed. The sooner the better, I agree. However, as everyone must recognize, whether or not this process is complete resource allocations will proceed as they have in the past, and when necessary, using existing practices for decision making until we have additional data on which to base allocation decisions. This process has a deadline of so that's the end of her quote. This process has a deadline of May 15th, which is an extension from the insane deadline proposed by the Chancellor of December. According to the Provost, she could not even attain access to most of the required data before late November, let alone have enough data to actually generate a report. Further, some data, including faculty research and creative activity data, will not be available before early summer. Therefore, the first attempt to prioritize programs across campus will be based on an incomplete collection of the data recommended by the original JTF task force, including any commentary from the student body if solicited. The Provost believes that she is on track to provide a preliminary analysis based on the data available, which is a great deal by the Chancellor's deadline. However, this is not the completion of the process, as the data on faculty research and creative activity are a critical part of the analysis. The Provost continued on explaining the difficulties with the process, but where we're concerned, one, the administration, central or otherwise, has no requirement to solicit our input on program prioritization, despite the recommendation of the JTF that student bodies be included. It is my perspective that they will rely on student reports from the last or from the most recent faculty or departmental self-studies conducted in line with departmental reviews. Two, when they engage in prioritization, not if, when they engage in prioritization, the report that they will generate will be based on incomplete data. So I'm going to repeat that. When they engage in prioritization, the report that they generate will be based on incomplete data, and that report has a due date of May 15th. To that end, this is a massive concern for us, especially given that President Dunn has indicated that SIUC will bear the lion's share of any budget reductions due to our ongoing program prioritization, and the fact that SIUC has borrowed from the sister campuses to keep itself afloat. The president communicated this in his last system communication, that come April, he would start looking at the doomsday list that he generated last March for examples of where these cuts could come from. And for the law students, this includes some of your stuff too. It's not looking good. We'd lose the entire med prep program as an example. Some of the floated cuts apparently would threaten the accreditation of the law school. It is not a good situation. So, well, thank you for that, Brandon. So, to this end, and I will conclude with this quote from the Provost. I hope this update provides you with some reassurance that the process is moving forward with as much speed as possible. While student-teacher evaluations may not be in the mix, to some degree, student credit hours and class/major choice serve as indirect measures of the strength and value of pedagogy and programs. Programs which are well-designed and well-delivered will be more likely to attract and retain students, all things being equal. Questions?
Could you clarify in that why the data will be
Because faculty are both reluctant and slow to input data into Activity Insights, which is the program that we paid, $150,000 to use to measure faculty productivity. At the last grad council, Dean Komaraju said that the deans would be providing faculty with a template to put their Vitas into in order to upload that as productivity measures. But the real problem comes in with the difficulty of collecting the data required to engage in like a thorough academic prioritization and the lack of availability of any mechanisms to collect this data, right? So the only institutional mechanism we have are faculty CVs and Activity Insights. Faculty have already said that Activity Insight is just really bad, and it's not a tool that should be used for the purposes that we're using for, but it's all we have. To be fair, faculty have had complaints about Activity Insights since the system was purchased and rolled out. Faculty have been slow to input data into it, and regularly simply ignore it. Now they no longer have that luxury, yet it's still taking large amounts of time to collect the data. Additionally, the provost's office simply doesn't have the staff to analyze all of the data. She, and I quote, had to hire one additional GA to do this analysis, and that's their entire task. And that's still not enough manpower to actually engage in all of this analysis. To be fair, the dean has held 3 half-day dean's retreats, the most recent of which, according to Dean Lee, was where they got preliminary data, which is woefully incomplete, in his words, not mine, and probably should not be used for any prioritization purposes. I think I can give you the exact quote from Dean Lee. He says, at the last Dean's Council retreat, they discussed the data from IBHE and other units, but the data is not clean. Activity Insights was not widely used, and the data itself is not complete. Following Dean Komaraju's report at Graduate Council, they've had only 1 meeting, and as of Friday of last week, Dean Lee and the rest of the deans have only had the data for 4 days, 3 days actually. So this is the situation. We don't have the mechanisms required to collect the data. We don't have full participation of the individuals who are supposed to report the data. Student input is not even a consideration except insofar as they can gather it from self-studies by individual departments, and we're not included in the list of folks who get to hear reports about the prioritization except by virtue of our representation on Graduate Council. So this is...
Can I just one thing? Mind by one thing?
Go ahead.
Faculty are so suspicious of activity insight, it's not that they're ignoring it, some of them are actively not doing it because they're suspicious.
See, I was just going to leave that out, but Brett is correct. This was a thing that came out during the JTF meeting about how to collect the data. Faculty don't want to use activity insight. Many of them view it as a tool which will be used to make particular kinds of decisions about their departments, about their employment. The administration has never offered them sufficient justification to prove otherwise. So this is a gigantic problem.
Well, I got a couple questions from your response too. So, kind of feels like that movie where you're interviewing for your own job. You know? But anyways, I was gonna have this up later when Brandon's time was up because of the selection committee. But I mean, is there any kind of question of, I don't know, I'm crazy. I've never seen so many chancellors at a school. I'm not trying to compare apples to oranges, but I mean, even where I went to school in California, UC Davis doesn't even have as many chancellors. I mean, granted, cost of living's higher there.
Vice chancellors?
I mean, they don't have as many, period. I mean, we have deans, I mean, I'm counting like, what, 30 chancellors now, and vice chancellors or whatever. I mean, it's just, blows my mind, because I look at the, well, let me finish. I look at the average pay of a chancellor. I mean, they're in the $200,000 range. And I mean, I go to a restaurant where I live in Murfreesboro, and there's our great Caldwell sitting there eating at the restaurant, at least a nice little $2 tip for the person, you know, and for the waitress. It's just ridiculous. This asinine. I mean, I've already sent the email to Diana. Is it ethical to sit on the research committee when I want to apply for a research grant so I could research how stupid they spend this money? I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. As far as the law school goes, I mean, we already see the writing on the wall. If you look at the classes that's offered this summer, it's ridiculous. I mean, they're like nothing offered. I mean, just in general purposes, I mean, why are we not standing up to this? I mean, before we go look at cutting programs, shutting down schools, I mean, shutting down everything else. I mean, why is it that these people need to be paid excess of $200,000 to live in an area that costs you $1,000 a month to live?
So 2 things. One, the way that the administration here is structured is extremely strange. Because we don't have enough administrators to do the jobs that we really need done, we have to give people vice chancellor positions so that they can have oversight authority over offices when they really need like a couple people helping them out with it. This is why we have a bunch of vice chancellors. I don't agree with it. I really don't think we should have a bunch of vice chancellors, but the other thing is we have a strong dean model. So we have a bunch of deans who have a large amount of autonomy where they're given colleges and areas are concerned, and nobody can call them to heel because of the way that we have structured our institution, right? So a vice chancellor is the only person who can exercise oversight authority over a dean in some cases. But there is no vice chancellor for COLA, right? There is no vice, that role falls on Provost Ford. And Provost Ford, for better or worse, recognizes the fact that we have a strong dean model, and fighting the deans is not really something that'll work. You got something, Brian?
So, as you were saying at the same time though, we've, more than one occasion, we've seen the numbers that SIU has the lowest, now granted, as our student population drastically goes down, that percentage changes, but by and large have the lowest per capita ratio of administration for students in the state.
Do we still have an idea number of what we spend on our annual budget on their pay though?
I believe the last time we had that idea was when the Southern did their FOIA request in 2013.
It won't work because they will tell you that SIU per capita, and this is true, has the smallest amount of administrators. It also won't work because the first administrator to go will be Dean Lee, and they'll send all of his responsibilities to the provost. The next administrator to go will be probably Lori Stetler, and they will make Kevin Bain do her job, and so on. And so they will eliminate all the ops administrators to trim the fat, which, if you note the people that I'm mentioning, will damage any method, any kind of student affair, any kind of student retention policy, anything that will keep a student here once they're here would go. So it's as Provost Ford put it, a zero-sum game, right? And a lot of this, well, I have my, that is not the point of this report, but I can elaborate on it if you want.
Well,
I was just gonna say that with these issues that we see as students, I also think that it is fair to also say that we're discussing the top of the pyramid here with the administration. And I think that the professors, the faculty, that they are also being hit by a lot of these budget cuts. I think that they are being requested a lot more of their time for the same amount of pay, with cuts to their own health care and such. I am very concerned about possibly a mass exodus of those that are professors from the school. So I think that these things that we're talking about are very important, but not just for the students who we're talking about and in the top. I think it's fair that we need to also say that there are concerns about if the faculty who teach our classes are to start leaving, that will significantly impact the students.
Well, we have had a 60% attrition rate of faculty over 10 years, so that's a valid concern. However, I don't know what to say to that, and it's something that Provost Ford recognized in her communication about travels, insofar as faculty, monies for faculty travel and faculty support are also gone. I'm merely speaking from the student perspective, but on the faculty side, this is massively damaging, particularly in terms of research productivity and contributions to their field and all the other things that you would expect from faculty at a research-intensive institution. My responsibility is graduate school affairs, and so I can get you the information on the effects that this is having on faculty, but this would much better come from somebody like Judy Davey, and I could ask her if she'd be willing to come to grad council to provide us with the effect that this massive budget disaster is having on the faculty, because that's something, in my communication with faculty senate, this is something that has been ongoing, or an ongoing discussion, and the two bodies, or our two bodies, have never collaborated on, or except at committee meetings, on what to do about it. So
yeah, I think it's a conversation that may be worth having, because I think that there is a gap there. We set around the state, we talk about the top, the provosts, the deans, the chancellors. We never really hit on the people that are teaching us, the people that we primarily depend on.
to be fair, while I recognize that concern, one of the biggest fights we had on the JTF was whether or not student input should be considered in prioritization. A number of faculty were adamantly opposed to it, which given the other kinds of conflicts that we've had with faculty, say over the attendance policy as an example, it's something I think we should do, but it's something that we should do by treading lightly in some sense.
I said one last part real quick. So I didn't ask my other question. I was quite curious how much these retreats cost.
Nothing. They're held at the Stone Center or.
Okay. My focus question right now is, I mean, when I brought up my point, you went to the extreme by saying they're going to kill off a whole ox, kill off another whole ox. I mean, you got to kind of run a school like a business in a sense, but it's ironic to me with such a predominant majority, and I'm not trying to get into political ideology, but them being a liberalistic view, that they don't want to like just understand that it's time to tighten up the belt. Everybody takes a cut. Everybody, works harder. You run this like a business. You trim the fat instead of killing a whole ox. You cut off a hind end of one, and everybody from the top down takes off a piece.
I see what you're saying. So
yeah, so I mean, it's just funny. It's like they all are sitting there in their
So it's
income
less,
and acting like Republicans.
it's less that and more, there's no plan to do it.
in response to your thing, I'd say there's two things we can do. One, which I think we'll probably end up doing anyways, given recent conversations, is when at the board of trustees meeting, where they're considering the chancellor applications, that we voice that concern and as voice their pay and voices in general as to all pay, because that's where those decisions get finalized on the top-ranking officials. Two, we could, like we always do, write a resolution and a date for the president. I have to, obviously, considering it, include the chancellors and stuff, I'd probably go straight to the president with that and say, recommend the SIUC take a similar path as the School of Medicine did. I believe the School of Medicine's administration actually also 10% cuts right away in terms of plan for it, which obviously we haven't been doing, so we can give a recommendation that that our administration should do the same thing.
The president actually mentioned that in his system connection.
So we could write a resolution and as it relates to that and present it to the president before the next board of trustees meeting. So like our next meeting, we need that written and passed and presented. That way we could.
When is the board of trustees meeting?
April.
Yeah. So, 6th, and also with that too is, and everything like that, we need to try to solicit some joint working with USG as well as possible. Knowing that gives our voices are stronger on those issues. That's why I would say those are two options in response to that are. And Brett, are you good?
Do you mind if I take a second?
Take a second, and we'll. If
I got
any other
one more
we
thing
can.
with my grad council.
Yeah, I was just saying, in terms of.
But they're holding the chancellor meeting on the same day as grad council meeting?
Yes,
What I'm reading in this?
they do that sometimes.
Okay.
It's really annoying.
So people won't be a grad counselor.
Yes and no. Usually, when the two overlap, the president delegates president chancellor delegates a proxy, which is usually Susan Ford, to give the grad council report for the chancellor.
So we have to have something passed by our next meeting.
Yes.
Yeah. Something written up.
So by the 4th.
Yes.
Okay. I'll get to you guys later.
Right. Brett can respond on that, and we'll table the rest of the budget type questions and.
I work with a bunch of meetings at SIU, so I deal with the faculty meeting. I'm just going to throw some information out there without opinion. So the administration numbers, they always say, oh, the administration numbers are low. What the administration doesn't tell you is that their salaries are very high. And that's actually because, and I actually went to the IBHE, the Illinois Board of Education, Springfield, and asked about this. There is no standardized way to count administrators in Illinois. So people at ISU or U of I come as administrators, SIU doesn't. So there is no apples to apples comparison you can do. I can tell you definitely the number of AP, active professionals in this campus, has been rising continuously for quite a while. Also, the cuts. Everybody in the MICMA college is convinced MICMA is going to go into COLA. They're just going to do away with that dean's office. They're all convinced about that. Everybody's convinced about that. I will tell you, the administration has sort of trial ballooned the faculty about changing the whole way the hiring process works to put a higher emphasis on teaching and less on research because they're going to have to do more teaching. But the administration is at least some contemplate actually changing changes from being research at the institution. I will tell you though, I also did research for my unions. The number of associate deans, we did this question, the number of associate deans in the combined salary. And we looked at 2000, 2005, 2010, 2015. The numbers aren't exactly the same, but they've actually held relatively steady over those years.
This is dean.
This is associate deans. So we just
Deanlets.
One thing I would say is that the one that jumps out at me, you might want to address is there really is no evidence of a plan of a grant at all. That's, and I put up to you that there's a chancellor search, so maybe there's a reason, part of it is why it is. But I have 4 unions on this campus that represent probably 3,000 people on this campus. And I have, you know, where there is no sense of a plan. It feels very much like the waterville shit. I'll also say something else, just for your information too. Last summer they announced entity layoffs. There were 5 entity layoffs. There were people remember this. In reality, I think there was 97 laid off. There were some who just were not renewed. So there isn't a layoff, they just weren't renewed. So there's already been a dramatic effect.
As an aside, this is why GAU tends to push for renewal notifications for GAs so that the administration can't show up and say, hey, we didn't fire anybody, we just didn't renew these folks. So this is a way to avoid that situation. So join the union.
How much of that information you just gave can you share?
Can you share?
Yeah, you should.
Can I share with where?
Like whatever all information that you have, like all your statistics and numbers and stuff.
I can probably take out the
It's not about that research paper you want to do.
No, it's not just research paper I'm gonna do. I'll actually write the proposal for next meeting.
You want to just give it to me?
But if you want to give me that information so I can have some numbers and facts to back up.
But the dean numbers, I just made a
Your
phone call.
administration pay,
You
just
want to
round numbers.
I'll try to dig it out.
Okay.
I don't have.
just give it to me and
I don't really have. I just want the MHG and I didn't get a report. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
I had the dean.
So you can do it, probably IBHU's too, I'm sure they're
I'm just listening to everybody. Something just stuck out to me. Like, I just question, like, is the lack of the state budget, like, is it really crippling us as much as an institution? Because some of the issues that we had were before this, so it's like the university is kind of said, well, we don't have a state budget, so
I will give you an unvarnished response to that. So the issues we're dealing with now were started with, as a professor affectionately calls her, Big Rita. Without a budget, right? Without a budget, the problems that we have had under Big Rita resulted in, were magnified, just exploded overnight, right? That combined with the lack of a consistent senior administrator on this campus meant that what would be hiccups for like an interim chancellor, well, not quite hiccups, but things that we could probably, things we could write out, became massive disasters that we had no plan in place to fix because they were never intended to be like huge disasters, right? So there are 2 things going on there. One, yes, we had these problems beforehand, but it's like, you have a leaky valve and then you get shot in the chest.
But I'm gonna shut up. But it just seems like administration, and even going back to what you were saying, like when you talk administration, oh, well, advocate for a budget. If we got a budget tomorrow, and they sent the money and hypothetically they were able to send the money, all the money that we need tomorrow, we still wouldn't be where we need to be.
Because the institution moves at the pace of an institution, but it would be
it just seems
marginally
like
better.
the institution, like the budget, the lack of budget is crippling us, and I think that's important to understand and it's important to recognize. But the issues that we have are much greater, and even when you're talking about the salaries, like it just seems like nobody, like we're taking cuts down here, but nobody is taking cuts.
Have you heard
Everyone's
any?
interior because no one wants to take.
So let me put it this way. Why don't we just write a gigantic letter that says you are hacking away at the academic programs and the student support services, yet have done nothing about the administrative salaries and the administrative bloat, and it's high time you stop pissing around the bush and start doing something about the administrative bloat.
As
Is
far as
this something we want to do?
As far as I've last heard, they're still going forward with the construction plans.
Well, hold on a second, that's a capital fund, but those monies were already spent, they just can't stop it and send the money elsewhere without breaking the law. Same thing with destroying any of the other sports things, right?
Oh, yeah, because our new coach, I mean,
we don't even want to go
But
there.
it just seems like nothing is changing, like we're struggling. We
I am
literally
fully aware of that.
by thread, but nothing.
What do you want to do about it?
That's good.
Oh, so, I'm short of it.
We got a resolution, do letters, do everything.
The two things I said we can do about it are what I just said. Those are the two most productive and quickest ways we can approach it, right? Given the fact that we have an interim chancellor and we have a chancellor search that's.
How many grad students are on campus?
1,000 or what?
About 2,600.
Yeah.
2,600 total?
Down.
Around there? How many undergrad students?
Grad students.
Oh, 2600.
I think
How many undergrad students is just average, just general?
12,000 now?
Yeah.
12,000 and 2,600 students.
2,600 grads, about 12,600.
So we're running functionally on almost 15,000 total
Yep.
students.
So small events is 1965.
And how much of a percentage of our faculty is focused more on research and teaching?
That is a subjective measure that we don't have the available data. Like, this is gonna be the problem that I cannot give you an opinion on that. This is gonna be the problem that we're gonna run into with.
I'll give you this answer. The question you're asking can be answered in different ways. There's about 500 faculty who have a research assignment that they do research as well as teach. There's about 600 who are NP who primarily only do research, who don't teach. That's not a perfect stat. So that research faculty includes some faculty who teach 3 classes a semester. It also includes faculty that teach maybe 3 classes a year. But those research faculty, most faculty, they're doing more and more teaching anyway. They're having less and less time to do their research. And they would tell you that also that the research faculty bring money to the school by either.
Oh, actually, it does. And I understand that. But let me ask another question. The 2,600 grad students, how many of them are, I mean, every one of them has to do a research project, I'm sure, but I'm talking like they could be completing their degree by doing research for this professor instead. Programs every school does outside the state of Illinois.
Not every, the way that the institution is set up, that okay, I hear what you're saying, but to make that happen, you'd have to pass a bazillion resolutions through graduate council to change thesis and other kinds of requirements of particular degree programs, which Dean Lee would probably be all on board with,
Right.
but certain fields do not function that way. You could not engage in, to a limited extent, you could not engage in the kind of research that you are asking about in, say, English or philosophy or communication studies, and we are taking way too much time with this, that you would in social or psych or history, right? I'm picking these specifically because the research dollar argument is usually one advocated by STEM and professional schools, which liberal arts simply cannot mirror those structures. So you'd be asking these schools to bear the liberal arts, some of these liberal arts, on the back of their funding, and this is not something that the faculty will agree to. And so the alternative would be the annihilation of those programs that cannot bring in research dollars in the way that you are suggesting, which has been something that has floated around varying bodies that I sit on and has been shouted down or shouted about for the past 2 or so years, right? Since I've been stuck in administrative meetings, this has come up and people have shouted it down or shouted about it, and it reaches a deadlock, which it very well should, because you are literally asking to engage in the kind of academic prioritization run by somebody like Bruce Rauner.
The other thing I would tell you is if the university does the research, that will hurt the reputation of the university.
Oh, no, I understand. The business schools program alone generates a ton of money. Okay, and I understand that completely. But that's what I'm trying to say is maybe that the professors are more afraid of losing access to the money for themselves and for themselves. I mean, have they tried it? They keep shooting it down.
Well,
have they tried it? There's other schools and other
Yes,
programs.
it's been tried, and at an institution this large, it has killed every one of those liberal arts programs that I've talked about. I did the research with Dean Lee to find out what would happen if we tried it here. It's bad. It's really bad. It's incredibly bad. So bad that I would say that you'd rather close the institution than do it, right?
But are we going to close anyways?
No.
I'd just like to point out that I think that if we have a resolution on the table, we can vote on it.
Yep.
So if we
Doesn't
can
it like-
have a resolution for next meeting, that would be preferable than
Yep.
information gathering at the meeting.
We'll add it to the pile of things.
Yeah, it's now 8:03, so,
And I still have stuff to add from that report. Real fast, so we have this resolution that we're gonna do, that's fine. Graduate council needs somebody to sit on a academic grievance, because I am no longer able to sit on an academic grievance. So I need
where the dates are.
I need it as soon as possible. Like, I need somebody, because the process is already moving forward, and I need somebody to take my spot.
So that means saying one, so it's like,
We haven't really finalized any dates and meetings yet. Yeah, so I mean, as soon as possible is moving forward, and we're gonna decide on schedules and whatnot. We've picked our chair at this point, and now deciding on a time to meet and when to conduct meetings.
if it were,
Is there a suggested
if it was a
time?
week, further than a week out, then
Yeah, it's not any,
nothing like right now.
not anything right now. It's like the schedule will happen on Friday. I think is when our chair said they would be able to even consider looking at schedules. So the schedule will be set till next week. And then I imagine that would probably have to, if we did meet, probably have to confirm times. And so that's the only thing to do.
That's all I got from grad
Okay.
council.
We'll have it, resolution next meeting, and we can talk more about it, ongoing. It's like, I have a whole lot I could add to that as well, being the primary budget, representative for, that committee the last 3 years. We go to Willie.
Thank you. We've got two event funding requests, one from the Student Recreation Society in support of their John Allen Symposium. Highlight of this event is that we are doing a professional luncheon where we're inviting former alumni to come network with current graduate and undergraduate students. We are recommending supporting that event at $200. Should I do this individually or can I do it together?
Omnibus then?
Huh?
Omnibus then?
I was going to.
I would vote on them individually.
Okay.
You're asking there.
Okay. We are recommending supporting this event at $200. Is there any questions, comments about that? Can I get a motion to support that? Second? All in favor? All opposed? Okay, next one is the Student Bar Association, support of their 5K Run for the Law charity walk run. This is something that we have supported in the past. We've supported it through our charitable giving account, which we don't have anymore, but Fab thought that it was something that we should at least nominally support. So we're recommending $200 for that event as well. Any questions about that? So the
Marathon type thing.
It's a 5K.
yeah, it supports the legal clinics that SIU law does for Southern Illinois. Yeah, the whole host of things.
Yeah, they still have plenty of center institutes.
Brandon used to run this walk back in the day.
Back in the day, thanks.
No problem.
Way back.
Any questions or comments? Can I get a motion? Second? All those in favor? All those opposed? Awesome, thank you so much. Research award is moving forward. We sent out a Another email to the entire graduate professional student population yesterday. Been getting a number of questions about it, so I'm expecting a pretty huge roster of folks to be submitting, especially in light of the fact that they don't have any other resources. So we'll see how that works out. We are going to be moving forward. I was in contact with my USG counterpart today. We are moving forward with our legislative road trip. We're going to be making calls to representatives and senators tomorrow to go ahead and set that up. We'll have room for probably one or two GPSC members who may be interested in this. We're either looking at the date of April the 13th and 14th or April the 18th and 19th. That's whatever that Wednesday and Thursday in that respective week. So if you're interested, please see me or just send me an email. Any other questions?
I just want to.
I'm sorry. One more thing. I already talked about the residual, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
This time, I just want to let you know that the committee is now full. I also have one bench warmer, just in case anybody for some reason gets sick. But if you still have any interest, let me know. I can put you on the bench, the team, in case anybody can't fulfill those commitments. So moving forward, I will be also contacting those who have submitted applications with confirmation emails and organizing and sending an email to all those who have said they can participate in that committee. Right? I thought.
Well, they already get a confirmation.
Okay, perfect.
Right. Yeah, so you don't have to do that.
Perfect.
I would like to point out the legislative road trip is like in lieu of what our past years we found is going to be more productive than actually going to a lobby day to put the nails to our local legislators to actually hopefully do something as a budget that is obviously affecting us. So if you are interested, that's a way you can, participate. For my report, diversity council rep,
I'm so sorry.
One more.
The Dean of Students Search Committee is moving forward. We will be having our. Do you have that in there? No. Oh, okay. Well, we'll have our Skype interviews, I think, are scheduled for March the 28th, which is next week. We've got 6 candidates, which we are looking at. Hopefully after that, I'll be able to give you guys some names and background on all of this stuff. But candidates that are being considered are pretty high quality. I'm sorry.
So we need a new representative for the diversity council for GPSC. And so if any of you are anyone's interested in that, please come see me after the meeting.
If
you want to add context to that, John?
Yeah, I would just say, for anybody who's interested, we would just say what the commitments are.
You meet every Monday from 3 to 4:30 and hammer out the details of the institution's diversity plan. Mostly what we're doing now is reviewing all the data we collected from the listening sessions and the student surveys, which we're not to my diversity. Oh crap! I should have gone. We'll get to this in the committee update.
Okay.
You engage in the development of the plan of the
all right, and that's
institution's
every
diversity
Monday.
Every Monday from 3 to 4:30.
So if anyone's interested in that, please come see us at the meeting. Also, we need a representative for the search for the associate chancellor for diversity team. And so, yes, if you want to call dibs on that.
I call dibs on nothing. I have enough things to do.
So this, we have an acting associate, which oversees the diversity council in part, and everything else. relates to diversity and stuff on campus, but we actually have to do a full search. And so if you're interested in being on that search committee, I have to appoint somebody to that committee.
What's the timeline?
I was not given timeline, I was just told that I still.
Ironically, it needs to be done probably before June or July, because that's when Dr. Lewin's contract runs out. So, and the institution can only function for 30 days without a CDO.
The more of it's if you were probably going to be here for summer would be a better opportunity. So. All right. Also, update on the.
So why can't the person that's acting be the associate?
She doesn't have the job.
Oh, she doesn't, oh, okay.
And if she wanted, she could have to apply for like.
Yes,
So we can't pick somebody that already is currently on staff?
So,
Yeah, do a full search.
well,
You can, yeah, her.
not necessarily. It was decided that the institution would engage in a full nationwide search the last time the office was vacated. We couldn't find any applicants to take on the job for the entire, for the duration of the job. So Dr. Lewin was appointed as an interim until we could redo the national search. The chancellor, to his credit, is committed not to doing an internal search for a candidate for that position. So it has to be a national search. It has to follow all the national search guidelines. Now, whether or not, I'm gonna stop right there.
So now I'm gonna pick up there. So what you're saying is that Elizabeth Lewin is not being able to apply for this job.
No. She doesn't.
She doesn't want
She doesn't want the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she could apply.
Yeah.
She just doesn't want.
She was pulled out of retirement to do this.
She's doing it for her page.
She wants to go back to retirement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she is adamant about not doing the job full time.
And so right now we have like candidates or no?
No, so right now
the
it's
search is about.
the search should
to
be
get
create
more
candidates and
candidates.
facilitate the whole thing, and so we're asking for a representative for that. And if you're interested in continuing after the meeting, we have this, we found this worker, so we can exit off. Going into committee updates, I'll update on the actual chancellor's committee search met today as a final to present the findings of the search committee to.
So we completed our deliberations on the finalists, and we will submit the names to the Board of Trustees for on-campus interviews. The search committee, after we submit those names will be made public, and the next steps will also be made public.
I think the chancellor is the last thing that's for John with that, so can't. All I will say is, big caution to is that I know the committee will likely recommend 4 names for finalists to come on campus. But the committee is advisory, so the board of trustees will choose out of those the names that will be given who comes and as finalists.
It is within the authority of the president of the system to select a name and add that name to the list of chancellor candidates, regardless if the committee recommended that name. Additionally, if you guys were here for the last round of chancellor interviews, it should follow the same kind of stuff where we have,
we'll have a
public forums.
public forum with every finalist candidate.
So if you have any interest in who's running this institution, regardless of whether or not you're going to be here for it, I suggest you show up when those things happen.
Is there, and maybe I'm looking out, but is there a time, like, have they set, like, in April, it's gonna be?
No. It's gonna be soon. It's an hanging day out.
Okay, can you guys send that on the service? You guys know that?
As soon as we were told we were allowed to say,
Yes.
Right, okay.
do it. Yeah. It's not a matter of having, it's just being able to do what it is. Any other committee reports?
So the Diversity Council met yesterday, and on the list of things that we were talking about is the Diversity Symposium. which has been organized, and one of my protests concerning the organization of the Diversity Symposium was that it excluded all of the academic efforts on campus to do diversity, right? So none of that research was included. To that end, I suggested that it be included and was given the responsibility of helping to put that together. So I will be in communication with Dr. Lewin as to how we are incorporating not only the research of students, but the research of faculty into the week-long diversity symposium. And if I have my way, it will be in the form of solicited papers, presentations, posters, all of those kinds of things, so that students and faculty have every opportunity to showcase the kinds of academic work they're doing with regards to diversity. And in saying this, I want it to be clear, whatever shape this thing takes, it's not simply about racial diversity, but it's about gender diversity, sexual diversity, that kind of thing. In my opinion, we spend too much time focused on the narrow perspective of racial diversity, and we ignore the fact that there are other forms of marginalization that come under the umbrella of diversity. And so I would not be in keeping with my commitment to serve the student body if I did not advocate for something beyond racial diversity. So there's that. I will give you more information about it as soon as I have it, but for now there is an attempt being made to include academic work by students and faculty on diversity in the diversity symposium. So it won't simply be food and fairs. Student trust.
Yeah, I was gonna do that announcement. Really? Or I mean, I can go back. So I guess go back to. I should have said it, already said it, so I apologize. Something. So normally the student trustee election would already be underway. However, due to the ongoings of the election last year and controversy with the actual selection committee versus the administration, all parties agreed that the rules for the election need to be revised and rewritten. Our very own John Howard, along with mostly John rewrote those rules, and we all kind of chipped in a little bit and presented those new rules to the Vice Chancellor last week. And obviously, given the timeline, expedience in her going over them and coming back, she still failed to do so. But even though we're at a place where we're behind schedule with the election, the executive committee has decided that we can't in good conscience go forward and even participate in the election unless we have a revised rule set. I don't know what that implication is going to do. I don't know if they can even try to do it without us. But I do notice that they're trying to push the process along without actually re-signing any new rules already, which is a bad sign. So we're still waiting for a response from the Vice Chancellor because what needs under the previous rules, I'm supposed to, along with the USU president and what would right now be the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs, all need to sign the new set of rules before the election can even be processing can begin.
So,
and we're not going to do that until we have some sort of the revisions in place that we refer to. Otherwise, it just doesn't behoove us or any of our constituents to do so.
To be fair, the undergraduate student government is acting as though the previous rules are the guidelines. They have formed their student trustee election committee and have nominated their 3 students, and they are proceeding as though it is business as usual. We did ask the Vice Chancellor to communicate the revised rules to undergraduate student government as required by her office. If USG is proceeding as if it is business as usual, it is highly likely that the Vice Chancellor has not communicated these revised rules to USG, or, and this is the worst case scenario, USG is simply ignoring them. I have no evidence one way or the other. I think we should endeavor to find out, but as as of today, not 45 minutes ago, USG is operating as though it is business as usual despite the presence of this new document that is under consideration by the Vice Chancellor.
Well, they think I'm still the chair again.
Yeah, so, and there'll be a possibility that'll, like, that break down to that, which we can't even allude to right now because we don't know what's gonna happen, but, just consider all the above in terms of what we could or can do because it's vital. And the recommendations we present forth are, I think we'll make it to where a graduate or professional student could actually possibly be elected.
Oh, we could just put a board together and the chair and the board can unilaterally dismiss every candidate and choose their own.
Yeah, that would be one way to go about it. Yeah, we could, yeah. If they
I mean, it's just matching Illinois politics and why not?
If they wanted to run, I would not business as usual, we could.
I would much rather just
pass the
simply-
rules, which I think it would be actually just get down and have them accept the rules and then make it binding, because what will happen is, they'll just scrap it and say it was, wasn't right and then make us review it again. Like they've done before when I was the first time I served as the chair of this, selection committee, so, or running the voting committee, so,
In my view, it would be much simpler if we just didn't perform our responsibility until they gave us revised rules.
Yeah.
Because then the process simply can't move.
You know what would happen? USG will have a committee, they'll run an election, the vice chancellor will approve it, and they'll select their own chancellor.
But they'd be in violation of the Board of Trustees policies. We just
And-
can't do it that way.
And what we'll make a point to say is that, if they try to go forward, and we don't hear a further response, we will not be taking a lot of time and we'll be going very quickly to the chancellor and the president and the board, in regards to this, so. With that, do we have any other roundtable discussion announcements, any happy hour stuff, anything like that? Positive?
Announcement next weekend on Friday and Saturday at Morris Library, the Aegis Conference, Dystopian Past, Dystopian Future will be taking place. On Friday, it runs from 12 to our keynote speaker at 5, and then there'll be a reception following that. And then on Saturday, it runs from 10:30 to 3 or 4. And if you just go to the rotunda on the first floor, we'll have schedules and stuff there, and we'll have flyers out around campus too. Should be some pretty interesting stuff.
Will we have 100 units?
No, we're just gonna talk about it. But there should be some pretty interesting presentations.
Anybody else?
I apologize for coming.
Yeah, go ahead.
For those of you who live around here, on April 4th is election day. Over at Janet Williams College last year, they laid off 40% of their tenure track faculty. This April 4th, there is a chance to vote for the Logan Board of Trustees and for the trustees. The faculty union at Logan, what's left of them, has endorsed Becky Borgsmiller and Mandy Little. So I would ask you to please go out and vote and tell us who to vote for too. It's not hard to remember that there are only 2 women running, so just vote for the women. The Board of Trustees at John Ellen College runs that sort of their personal effectiveness. Public circle and administration, almost everybody is related to or a friend of a trustee. And these are people who would not be part of that system. So please, on April 4th, go vote. Your vote's going to count for lots of people who vote, and vote for the 2 women, Becky Borgsmiller or Mindy Little.
Yeah.
I just wanted to follow up. I know that you presented our student survey fee information recently. I just wanted to know how that. Don, if you can discuss that. I just haven't heard about it.
For lack of better terms, for the chancellor on his deals, when I gave him the shorthand and the big stack of the survey, and I'll be following up with him next week on a one-on-one.
Just wanted to double check. And then also, I know that we had talked about, or some people have talked about, like, the big event. I don't know if GPSC is still looking at a team. I know that was up there previously, but if not, the non-traditional and veteran students we have a team together that's going to be serving at Touch of Nature. So if anybody's interested in participating in the big event, let me know, and I'll be happy to give you our information so you can join our team. Our team name is Team Adulting. So that's, yeah.
And no one contacted us, but Anything else? Need a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, everyone.
What was we doing here?
Hey, will you turn on my phone those postcards?
Okay.